not that delicate. I can smell the difference while it's cooking.
Sure.
But not in the wood itself. I mean, the meat itself. I can't say I can pick it out. No.
Do you think there's pit masters out there that are able to do that, or are they using stuff that is either available to them or isn't? As traditionally, mesquite is known as a very heavy flavored smoke wood. They're trying to stay away from some of those, so they're going with the lighter fruit woods to impart smoke flavor, but not overdo it.
That probably has a part to do with it. Yeah, that and it's traditional. Some of the folks will say, "Well, I use this." Well, that's maybe because that's what Daddy used, or that's always a possibility too.
All right, so are you going to be competing anywhere else before the end of the year, Dave, or is this going to be it for you?
No, since the trailer broke, I mean, literally the whole tongue, it's broke off. I'm done for the year. We're going to hang it up. We're sitting in third. If people pass us, they pass us, but we're not going to do any more gaining. I've got a lot more things going on. We've had few other things in life hit us that I need to concentrate on, take care of some kids. But no. Other than that, I'm done cooking.
All right, Dave Bouska joining us here on the show from Butcher BBQ. Dave, we've got about 2.5 minutes left before the end of the segment. Is it possible that I could hold you over for another segment? I have other stuff I'd like to ask you about.
Sure, that's fine.
Tell us a little bit about the new product that you have out called Grill.
Okay, Grill is something that I've worked on for a long time, and it's been probably a year and a half in the making. The hardest thing about the product Grill was coming up with a garlic product that was consistent. What I have found is the different grinds of garlic from time of the year to time of the year and where they were actually grown at changes the final outcome whenever it's soaking in it. Not necessarily just being cooked with, but whenever you're trying to soak with it. Grill product is a flavor of a grill. What it was a couple of years ago, the wife and I went on this great big diet, lost a lot of weight, and we was cooking in the house through the winter time on a George Foreman, and we'd throw some squash or something on it, and good God, there was just no flavor at all in it. So I went back to the back, and I started putting some stuff together, and I like that flavor of a grill on this. And I started putting things together, and that's how I was cooking chicken for a long time. So I thought, well, wonder what I can do if I start adding some phosphates to this. And I started tinkering with it for a poultry product. And that's kind of the basis of how it all started. And I found a packer that I was happy with the packing on it. But it can be used as a brine. You can soak them in it for an hour, 2 hours. You can inject with it, or you can do both. I have guys that are trying it for the first time, and they're calling me up and saying, this is the most moist breast I've ever used, and all I did was brine it for an hour. I know folks that are actually playing with it with hamburgers even. They're using it to mix in with their hamburger meat and using it. It can be used. It's very versatile. I've played with it on pork chops, asparagus. I've played with it on ribs. Different proteins, it acts different. What I've noticed on chicken is it does help with the moistness and the grilling flavor. Pork, it seems to me that with pork, it wants to get a little more picks up more of the pepper in it. On beef and everything, it seems like it picks up more of the salt. So each protein kind of reacts different with it.
And is it adding flavor, or is it more of a moistness type of a product?
It does both. It does both. It has the grill flavor that it'll add to the product. I had one email this last week that said, I'm not getting a lot of flavor with it. Well, he's grilling with it. Well, you're getting that flavor naturally then, is how I had to explain it to him. Or is the product moist? He said, it's the moistest chicken we've ever cooked. I said, well, that's what you're getting. But if you just take that chicken and put it in the oven and bake it, you'd get a grill flavor along with the moistness. I mean, it's not going to be a predominant flavor that you're going to just grill and say, wow, that's super grilled. No, it's not. It's not a super product. It can't take something and make it better, make it twice the flavor. It'll just add that flavor to it naturally. And grilling flavor is the natural flavor that you can get out of this.
That's great. So check that out again at butcherbbq.com. It's one of the new items out there that Dave has brought to market. So especially for folks that live in my area where winter is going to be out there, people aren't going to be hitting the grill as much, especially those novice ends. So here you have a product that is going to give you that grilling flavor all winter long, in case you don't want to go out and brave the elements like some of those people don't want to do, and we shame them, of course. But that's their right, and why not? No need to deprive them of flavor, and you can pick that up at butcherbbq.com. All right, Dave, I'm going to put you on hold here for just 1 second. I'm going to do this read, and we're going to come back and actually talk about Dave's cooking class.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, coming up on 20 till the hour. That's right, 40 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock, joined by Dave Bouska of Butcher BBQ, butcherbbq.com. I'm just talking about his Reserve Grand Champion takeover this past weekend, and about that new grill product that he has out. Gives you that grill flavor and is adding moistness as well. Dave, you're a competition cook. You have a super amount of experience just in this whole butcher industry. Did you think that getting into this whole competition barbecue thing, or just barbecue in general, do you have a step up, as it were, against your competition as far as knowing how these meats are processed and what goes through the butchering expedition?
No, when I first started competing, I never thought that I'd start out or come into this ahead of anybody. I felt maybe I'd come in even with some of the folks, not the guys that I looked up to instantly, that I knew were winning. Some of the guys that that had been cooking for a year or so, I thought, well, I'll come in kind of even field with some of these guys. It'll take some of the learning curve off of what I know. Of what I needed to know to compete. But what I didn't realize is 30 years in the meat business, the things that I was able to utilize as far as the farms, where the meat comes from, how it's grown, where to go get certain items, how to know what is a good looking pork versus another, and then how to factor in, let's take beef, like here in central United States where we're at, Oklahoma and Texas has been in a drought this year. It was almost bad last year. This year it's really bad. By the end of this year, the forecasts are that the farmers in Texas and southern Oklahoma are going to sell off 60% of their total herd count. With that being said, there is going to be very little beef killed down here. Now, where's the beef going to come from? Where's all the plants going to get their meat? Those that use a lot of the Texas Wagyu worlds, that's going to hurt. Everybody has been talking this year about how thin the briskets have gotten. That's got to do with the drought more than anything else. I have been searching out, and I have found some briskets a little farther north, and it's all got to do with the way that I buy briskets. I actually buy my briskets once, and if needed, only twice a year. I buy enough briskets for the whole cooking season, one time a year, but if needed, twice. And it's because of where they come from, the amount of marbling in them. The time of the year has to do with the marbling. The marbling is nothing but fat. The fat is nothing but protein. Protein is energy. So you need to find the most optimum time that there's more energy, fat, protein in the meat, which I have found that it's usually late January, and where the meat is grown that I buy, because of the winter hasn't set in to where the animal was using that to stay warm yet. But they have built it up after the heat of the summer has passed and they've been building up their fat for the winter, but they haven't used it up yet. So I have found out a lot of that kind of stuff that I'm able to utilize. Most folks won't even utilize or understand or comprehend. The farmer has as much to do with it as the way you cook it. So I do use that kind of knowledge and my sourcing out of the product for that.
Dave Bouska joining us here on the show. I mean, you talked right over my head, Dave, I got to be honest, but it's very fascinating. You know, we heard over the last year, 2 years, there seemed to be a lot of talk about what's happening in, you know, butchering, what's happening in meat processing. And there seemed to have been, at least initially, a run afoot where artisan ranchers were kind of sprouting up and you were going to be able to get this beef that was not full of steroids, and they were feeding it one way and finishing it another to give it this taste and all this other stuff. Are you finding that is still a trend that is picking up with popularity? Was it something that was overstated as far as what was happening, you know, in mass sense? What do you know?
No, I don't think it was overstated. Do I find it growing? Maybe very small in my world. I think branding of the meat is what's growing, to where the big box stores, the grocery stores, they're all trying to put their own brand of meat out. Not necessarily the Safeways or those type, but they're going with a branded beef to where you have to come back to their store to find Lars lean beef or the like the Wagyu or the Strubes or the, you know what I'm saying with that? They're finding that, and that's what they're trying. Ranchers Reserve, that sponsors some of the KCBS cook-offs. That type thing is what's growing in popularity, which is no different than the grocery shelves, the dry shelves, where people go to a grocery shelf because they like the private label, the Best Choice or the Del Monte or the Libby. Well, they've carried that over to the grocery or the meat case now. There's a lot of things that's always changing in the meat world, and you have to be able to stay up with it. And something that's going to be different that you're going to need to find come the first of the year is on 52 of the main cuts of meat, not beef, meat, there's going to have to be ingredient statements in your meat case. They're going to have an ingredient statement of the main cuts of beef, pork, lamb and veal, and chicken. The grocers, I mean, we're talking, this is supposed to be fresh meat. Now, why are we having to put an ingredient statement on it?
It should be like one thing that says beef or pork or chicken, right?
but it's there. I got my information from the American Meat Association last week, and nutrition facts are supposed to be on it, dude. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, but it's happening.
You know,
it's kind of scary, but it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look back, 40, 50 years, and depending on what region of the country you were in, you know, you were eating a lot of kind of what was locally grown around you within a certain radius. And then somewhere along the line that has changed, and you had all this mass production and of beef and all this other stuff to a point where you said now we're going to have an ingredients list for what we think the main ingredient should only have one ingredient. And obviously that's not going to be the case, as we're going to be seeing here come the first of the year. Do you think there's ever going to be a point, Dave, where we're going to get back to eating what's grown locally, what's indigenous to your particular area or region, or at least maybe somewhere in between, where you're not going to have all this mass-produced crap to choose from, which probably can't be all that healthy for everybody, too?
I don't know about getting back to eating like that. Mass media, internet, we communicate so much better than ever. I think that goes into play with